Okay, hey everybody, I'm William Rader. Welcome to this first community Zoom session here at Artisan Tarot. Today we're going to be talking about some of our products that we have currently available, what we're going to be releasing here in the future within the next, hopefully, 3 to 4, maybe 5 months, depending on the release cycle and how that goes. And then we're going to open it up to questions. If you've got any questions that you have about our products that we have coming up, or about these community sessions that we're going to be holding every third Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So with this in mind, let's go ahead and start just by talking about some of these releases that we have going on right now. And the first thing is, I don't know if you know this, but we've got a great package deal that we're running right now on the John Dodal deck. So this package deal, this is the John Dodal deck. I actually don't have one open right now, but this is the Dodal deck. And with this package deal, we also have this handkerchief that looks like this. We keep this nice and wrapped for photos so it doesn't get all wrinkly. But we've got this nice handkerchief that comes with it. And we also, maybe I didn't grab it, we have a pin. Now this pin is for Vivial, I think. Yes, but it looks similar to this. Let's get it out of the light. This is what our pins look like. And what's really great is with every deck that we create, Kristen creates a little logo like this for every single deck. So if you've been on our website and you say, oh, what are these on our cards? Well, Kristen creates from the images these pins. And so we have one right here as well. This is the coin. So it's a little bit different, but still same idea for these decks. So that's what these pins represent. It's the logo for the deck. And what I really like doing is I get to perform quite often and talk about tarot. And so I wear this on when I'm wearing a jacket, I pin it to my lapel. And so this is just a great conversation starter. It's a good way for me to tie in my outfit with the deck that I'm reading with. And so it's like, it's just, I don't know, I think details really matter. And this is just an added detail that I think just makes me look a little bit more professional. And so that's why I enjoy doing this. I might put this in my pocket as a pocket square. So everything is kind of tied in to what I'm doing when I'm reading. With that in mind, we also have, speaking of decks, this is our latest release, and this is the Silicio Tarot. Now, this deck is pretty not well known. What's really well known is the Jean Noblet Tarot. This is really well known, and the Silicio deck is very similar to this Noblet deck. But there are some differences, and we're not going to go into all of those. The first major difference is you can see that these are in Italian. So that's the first difference between these decks. And the reason why I'm saying this, a lot of people, that if they're not into Marseille, if they don't know a lot about Marseille, they might see the Dodal next to the Vivial, next to the Noblet, next to the et cetera, and they might all think, oh, this is just the same deck. And so because of that, that's why I just want to mention that this is the Silicio deck. And you can see here we've got Justice, which is very similar to the Justice of the Noblet deck. But let's go to the Chariot, for example. This is one of my favorite examples. Here we have the Chariot. And in the Marseille deck, the charioteer doesn't have any reins in his hand. And so this, for me, is just, okay, well, what does this mean? If now that the charioteer has the reins, he's now in control of where these horses are going, right? And so this just lets me brainstorm a little bit, come up with new ideas for reading the same type of images. And so if you're maybe tired of reading the Marseille, or you want to spark some interest, spark some inspiration about how you can look at these cards differently, that's really what this Silicio for me is really all about. For example, here we have the Sun, and instead of just two people embracing at the bottom of the card, here we have two people in a dance. And so what might that mean, an embrace versus a dance, right? And so immediately I'm sure you can get all of different types of ideas based off of just this simple imagery of these two people dancing instead of just embracing. And so I really suggest picking up this deck because of these fun differences. We've got the 2 of coins, and we always include this in our trumps decks because the 2 typically says around on a wreath like this, the maker of the card and sometimes the year. But what's interesting about this doesn't have that. This only has the 2 coins. So it's a stark difference from the Marseille. And you can see the coin here on the front of the box as well. And so because of this, I think it's just a really fun deck to read with. And even here, we've got the star, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, but we have this great big bird right here. And so this is much different if you're looking at the Noble deck or other decks that might have a bird, but the bird is very small. Well, here we've got the bird that's very, for one, just the coloration is very stark, but also it's now a big part of the card. So we go from the small bird or no bird to now a bird that's pretty prominent in detail. Well, what might that mean for when you're giving readings? And so once again, this is just a great deck to help you get creative in your readings and try to just see the cards from a different perspective. So that's really why we decided to go ahead with this restoration, even though it's not typical Marseille. But the real reason is Kristen just loves these cards. And one of the things she really likes about it is the outline of the cards. Usually the outline is black, but in this deck, the outline for the images, and I'm trying to find one, maybe this one, the outlines are all in blue. So I don't know if you can see this, but here around the dog, this is all a blue line going all around. And this is original to these cards. And so instead of having these black lines throughout, it's now this blue tone that we just think is really cool. And then the back design is also, this is original as well. This is the original back design, which is a really cool back. And so anyways, I'm not going to talk too much more about these, but we printed 500 of these with a new company that we're starting to work with for our products. And what we really like about this company is that not only can we have boxes for these, because if you remember, we had the John Noble free deck that we were giving away for a certain point of time, but this didn't have a box. And the reason was, it's just really expensive to make a box for this amount of cards with the manufacturer that we were working with. Luckily, the new place that we're working with, they can make these at, it's still expensive, but it's not as expensive as if we were to work with someone else. So we found this company to work with. And what's really cool is each deck we can now individually number. And so if you're a collector, this is really great because you can say, I've got 250 out of 500. And so, and once again, we've got, this is the first edition of this as well. And so we just like labeling these things so you know exactly what you're having. And I think it makes them extra special. So we were doing this. Okay, let's move on here. Actually, let's go to this, because this is a new poker deck that we just released. And this was an experiment for one of creativity, but two, just working with this new company, we wanted to produce a deck of cards just to see what it was like working with them. And we love this. So this is Kristen's Momentum deck. And I'm just going to show you something really quickly, especially since we have some readers here that you might find interesting. So first of all, this, because of the box material, this sticker, you don't have to worry about ripping the box. You can actually just do this and it comes right off the box like this. And then I usually just stick it down here and we're good. This is a side opening box, which I think we are going to be actually implementing with Zilla's deck, which is going to be super cool. But we've got this nice side opening box, which makes it really easy now for you to just grab right here and pull the cards out. So you're not having to fish down inside to get it. It comes with some jokers and a double back card just for extra fun. But what we really like about this is Kristen created these cards. It's called Momentum because from this to this, there's a moment that's different. So it's like someone took a picture of their camera, and from here you can see he's raised this up, and if we go here, he's now wearing it as glasses. And so this is just really fun. Here we've got the flower here, and when you go over to the other side, we've got it now withering away. So if you do read with cards, this is a great way for you to look at the cards, see what's different, right? If you're reading reversals, here we have the king's looking at his own reflection, and here there's no reflection. So if you read the cards similar to like an open reading, or in a way that's maybe a mix between numerology and open reading in different ways, you can now start to mix what you see in the cards with your readings. And so I think this is, once again, all about inspiration, about what you can see, to then link that to or relate that to with your acquirent and what they have in mind and what they're asking. This is called the momentum deck. And also you can see here, we've got this movement going on in the back. So that's why Kristen designed it this way. Also, what's really clever, and now I'm just going to show her off for a minute, but we've got this on the box. You can see it says here around, it says momentum. And no matter, so you can see momentum, and it goes all the way around. Actually, we can just show you on the back side. Here it says momentum, once again, all the way around, just showing this momentum that's in the back. So I just think that this was like a really nice, like, once again, we think details really matter. And so just adding these small details to this, I think really elevate what we're doing. And we really try to do this with everything that we make. And then also just some stuff for fun. We've got these Vivial socks. I don't know if you've seen these, but these are just like really fun. Once again, if I'm in a show or I'm wearing these, you know, sometimes you'll cross your legs and my pant legs just go up, and you can see, once again, another element from the cards. And that's the same way with the Noble socks. And so these, once again, is just adding, when I'm performing, just an extra element to what I'm doing. And a lot of people ask me, okay, what is your go-to deck? What do you always use when you're performing or giving readings? Gallery readings is what I'm traditionally doing. What deck is your go-to deck? And recently I have been performing with our, and I'll show you a picture in a minute, but I have been performing with our Noble deck. And I love this because I don't want to carry bags of stuff around with me when I travel, when I go to places. And so this is just so convenient for me to slip into my pocket, and I'm good to go. And traditionally I read with the majors or with the trump cards. And so this is just a great way for me to always be prepared when I'm traveling, or even when I go to a coffee shop, I always have my deck with me. And with that in mind, we just started working with a company called Heritage here in Tbilisi. And this is kind of our products, our new products for these decks. These we specifically designed, and we went through 2, 3, maybe 4 prototypes of this deck. Actually, I don't have it here, but I'm still carrying one of the prototypes. But these are, I'm just gonna take them out here. These are, once again, specifically made just for the majors. And we've got this beautiful, what is this? Natural color. We've got black, this blue, whiskey, olive, and actually olive was the most popular one, you know, out of all of them. And then we also have, actually, this one was teal. This is a new teal color. And then we've got blue. So if you want to see the difference between the blue and the teal, this one is the teal and this one is the blue. And I don't know if you can see this, but the teal, it starts to get this really beautiful fading here, which I just absolutely love. It's really great. So I put my cards here. They fit perfectly. And in the back, we've got another pocket here for my credit cards. And so I put this in my pocket, and wherever I go, I am now ready to give readings. And I'm actually going to show you a quick picture of myself performing here in Tbilisi. I'm going to share hopefully I can do this. Let me pull this up and see if I can share my screen one moment. Yes, so this was a recent, this is at a venue here in Tbilisi, Georgia, and here I am performing card readings. And you can see here, I'm just sitting here on stage, people select cards, and then I give them a one card reading based off of the card that they selected. And you can see here, we've got the Wheel of Fortune, which I think is always a fun card for an audience member to receive. And then I give them basically a reading, anywhere from 1 minute to a 3-minute reading, as I have time for. So I've got several people in the audience that select cards, and then I give them readings based on what they've selected. So here we've got my Noble deck that I was just able to put right in my pocket, come on stage, take it out, and then give everybody readings. And so this is what I am doing. This was, like I said, I think 2 weeks ago. This is what I'm doing right now as a reader. So I just wanted to sneak this in here so you can see what I've been up to. So let's now talk about some things that we have coming out next. We've been kind of quiet about these things.
Hey,
yes.
Yeah, 1 second. I cannot let this stand, all right? You have failed to mention my favorite Artisan Tarot product of them all. The one that there's one that is currently out. It is currently my favorite, and I'm currently going to make you all look at it right now. This is okay. All of that stuff, those are great decks, okay? But if you're one of the cool kids, you get one of these, the Tarot de Ambiguities. All right, can I show this off real quick? Is that
Yes,
okay?
please. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. All right, we're going to do that. So go ahead and spotlight me. I got my table out right here so you can take a look. Now, I've been showing these off to everybody, okay? Everybody wants to, oh boy, this is, okay, there we go. Yeah, my hand-eye coordination with these cameras ain't the perfectest yet, but this is a Tarot de Ambiguity from Alexandro Rojan. Rohan? Sorry, I keep...
Alejandro R. Rozan, yeah.
Alejandro R. Rosan. Thank you. I don't word so great in this accent. So, anyway, this is the cards right here. Now, I don't know how many people here play video games, but if you do, there's a video game called Silent Hill. It's the creepiest thing ever, but it's also like it's a game series that's about exploring your innocence and like confronting the dark parts of yourself, right? It's like, but it uses the metaphor of sort of an evil mirror universe to do that, right? And now I'm not going to sit here and say that these are evil or for shadow work or anything like that. That's not what I'm explicitly trying to say. What I am trying to say though is if there was a tarot deck, if there was a Tarot de Marseille that existed in one of these alternate Silent Hill universes, this would be it, because this is definitely like the dark universe version of the Tarot de Marseille. It's got such great deep meaning hidden in every single one of these images, and it just has that terrific, look at that artwork right there. Like, I'm sure you recognize Le Pape. There's a number 5, the Hierophant usually, but in traditional Tarot de Marseille, it's Le Pape, the Pope. And over here we got the Judgment card. Like it's familiar, you recognize it, but there's also some weird things going on. Like where's the angel's head? All the angel heads are down there now, and now it's just one big horn. What does it mean? There's so many other dark meanings you can take from that, or just personal explorations. Like the star looks so much different in this one here. Look at that, there's a head in the water,
and there's the bird I was talking about earlier too.
Yeah. Now, and exactly, everything's there, but it's also sort of mixed up in weird ways, and it makes you think of things in a different way. Like my personal favorite card in this entire deck is the Hermit. Okay. First off, I love the fact that we've got a Hermit that's facing to the right. That is a future facing Hermit right there in the language of Marseille. But also because the lantern is right, where the head would normally be, there's a stronger metaphor of self-reflection going on here, right? But it's doing it from such a creepy, interesting angle that it forces you just a little bit to rethink what you think about these cards. And I absolutely love it. There's also like a very subtle tea staining that's going on. I don't have the best desk camera, but like I am just super enthusiastic about these cards. In fact, I have a bunch of card decks here in case I get called upon to do readings later. And this was the first one I pulled for that exact purpose. So I'm like, hey, shame on you for not bringing it up, William. Shame on you. This is the best deck.
Part of the reason why this is called the Tarot de Ambiguities is because a lot of the Marseille images are ambiguous. For example, the card,
Exactly.
the Lover, like, okay, what's really going on here? And so Alejandro Rozon decided, let's take this up a notch and really make this ambiguous in relation to the Marseille. And so this
Yeah.
is really, once again, a deck that is supposed to make you be able to be creative and make you think of these cards in a different way. Because if you read with these cards, that's awesome, right? Like, you're going to have inspiration. But if you decide to read with Noble again, you're going to have a lot more information to pull from, because you were able to expand your mind by looking at images that are different. And so this is, I think, a great exercise just for your mind to expand upon. And here we've got, for example, Le Bateleur, the magician, which is known for his misdirection. And here he's got three hands doing all these different things. And so that's really the goal with this deck. Now, Zilla, I think you might have froze here.
Did I?
Yes, your video completely froze.
Uh,
But with that in mind, we will go to, see, I thought, I'm going to spotlight myself. When he started talking, I thought for sure, oh, you unfroze.
yeah, all I did was reset the virtual cam, but yeah, okay.
When you were talking here, I'm going to try to spotlight myself again.
Okay.
When you were talking, I thought you were going to talk that this was your favorite product. I was like, oh, I
Oh,
know where he's going with this.
oh, that was pretty good too. Yeah. No, that was
Yeah,
pretty
this
good
this
too.
was pretty good.
It's not great for
So
doing
this is
readings,
Zilla's
but it's
book.
great for reading.
Yes, yes. This is Zilla's book on reading tarot, how to read tarot on social media. And so this is a great book if you're looking to build your following, because Zilla has over 200,000 followers on TikTok. So he's a pretty big sensation over there. This book explains exactly how he was able to do that and how he's continuing to do that. So
Yeah.
we just,
On that note,
this is a great book.
yeah, sorry. I was gonna say I am expanding over into YouTube and Instagram and even Facebook and Threads if that is what you're looking for. So, yeah, come follow me. My link is at the bottom of my image there.
So now let's talk about some upcoming products that we are going to release. Once again, this is hopefully in the next 3 to 5 months type of time frame. So we made up a little presentation for everybody so you can actually see some of these images that we're working with here. So let me go ahead and try to share this screen. Technology is great when it works. Okay, hopefully everybody can see this. Can you give me a thumbs up in the audience if you can see this? Okay, great. So the first release that we have coming up, and can you see my image as well down at the bottom? Can you see me, or can you only see my screen? Some people can. Okay, we might go back and forth here so I can give you all examples. So this is our first release that's going to be coming out hopefully in about 2 weeks' time. This is the Portrait de Paris. This is a deck from the 1700s that was created in France. So this is going to be a deck of 54 cards, and you can see here that it's really fun, really kind of a whimsical type of deck. And so this deck is from Christina Condor. She's completely redrawn all of the images from the original deck of playing cards. So let's talk about this just for a few minutes. So what's really cool about this deck is that during this time period, the playing cards didn't have the numbers or the pips on the cards. And so the only way you could tell what the card was by counting up the spots, or by just remembering, right? Okay, well, this looks like a 10, this is a 10. And so we've stayed true to this tradition by not adding any of the numbers on these cards. Now, another thing that Kristen has done, you'll notice, like, on a lot of playing cards, and even on our momentum deck, to make it look more modern, a lot of times people will create one heart and then duplicate that same heart 10 times. And so now you're left with this somewhat sometimes elegant look where every single pip card is exactly the same. But what we wanted to do with this deck is we really wanted to have that handmade look to it. So Kristen redrew every single spot card by hand. And so if you look at these, no one of these spot cards, like, all of the hearts are going to be different, all of the clubs are going to be different, all of the diamonds are going to be different, all of the spades are going to be different, and that's going to be different across every single card. And this just really gives this like homemade, like handmade look to it, which is really what we're going for, is to make these look original. These will also have this really nice tan background. So this looks of the time period, because they didn't, like, because if they were aged just a little bit, right, this is what they would look like now. So let's talk about these court cards, because I think the court cards are really interesting for two main reasons. One, we're not used to seeing the full bodies on the court images. We're used to seeing about half and half, and then they're reversed. These, you can see the entire body here of the courts. Now, another thing that is very specific to the Portrait de Paris is that they have the names of mythological or historical figures on them. And so here we have, for example, Charles for the King of Hearts. We have actually Rachel for the Queen of Diamonds. Here, this is actually interesting. On the Jack of Clubs, this is known to be as Hector, but you can see they, on this specific card, they took that off, and they have that this is the name of the maker of the deck is right here. And then we've got that this is made in Paris down here at the bottom of the card. And so this is just really, really cool to flip through these and to then be able to look up who's Charles and who's Rachel. And a lot of these actually came from the Bible as well. Judas, for example, is in here. And so this is, once again, if you're doing readings, I think this is opens up a lot of opportunities for you to relate the card with that mythological or historical person. So just keep that in the back of your mind here. Also keep in the back of your mind this dog that's here on the Jack of Spades. Just remember that dog for a moment. So here we have the Joker and the back design. Now, during this time period, they did not have jokers. Jokers was actually brought into the deck in America. So they did not have jokers during the time period at all. But once again, to make these more modern, to make them contemporary, Kristen has created a joker for this deck. And what she's done is she's taken that little dog from the Jack of Spades, and she's added that to the suits. And we think this just looks of the time, right, by using the same elements. And this is, of course, for one of the jokers, and the other joker has the dog on the other side with a black collar on, which represents the black suits. And so once again, this is just a really whimsical, I think, and fun, playful way to create a joker. And kind of a little wink here is, if you know the Fool from the tarot, well, the Fool is the zero. He's kind of the joker. He's outside of the rest of the cards. And he's got that little dog kind of chasing at him. And so this is kind of a subtle nod, if you're familiar with the Tarot de Marseille and the Fool. This is that kind of a subtle nod to that being outside of the regular playing card suits. Once again, these little details like this, you might not know unless you know the Marseille. And then another thing is, during this time period as well, they didn't have back designs. The backs of the cards were completely blank. And so is the case with this deck. So what Kristen has done is she's created a back design that's specifically for these cards. Now, you're not going to find this back design in any historical documents, but she really tried to take the elegance, if we go back here, of the designs. You can see these patterns here on the clothes, and down here at the bottom of the king, and right here, especially at the bottom of his skirt. She's really tried to take these elements, combine them to create this back design that matches and is in sync with the rest of these cards. And I think she's done a wonderful job with this. So this is the Portrait de Paris. Once again, this is at the printer right now. We hope to have these out in 2 to 3 weeks, barring any difficulties. So let's go to the next deck that we are going to release, probably in 4 to 5 weeks time frame, maybe a little bit longer, once again, just depending on shipments. And that is this Telepatha deck. Now, what is the Telepatha deck? Well, this deck was made in competition with an ESP deck. So if you don't know what an ESP deck is, I'm going to stop my sharing here for a moment, and I will show you. So a while back, we released these ESP decks. And actually, the same with the telepatha decks. We have a deck that's non-colored and a deck that is colored. And so these were used by J.B. Rhine in the 1930s in order to test extrasensory perception. And so these are the original cards that were used. And I'll open them up and show them to you here. So we have, this is what the back looks like from Duke University. And then the fronts look like this. And you can see these just have various symbols on them, 5 symbols actually. We've got the circle, the plus, wavy lines, a star, and a square. And so these cards were laid down on the table. There was somebody sitting across with like a shield in between them. And then they would try to say, okay, what card am I holding? And the other person would try to guess what card they were holding on to. And you might know this, probably the most famous is from Ghostbusters, when they're doing those tests with these cards. So these are the original cards that Kristen has remade. Well, during that same time period, across the pond, Harry Price was doing his own experiments, and J.B. Rhine was actually finding that some people did have ESP abilities. Well, across the pond, Harry Price said, okay, well, I want to make my own deck because I've got some issues with this deck. Maybe there could be some differences in the cards, or maybe somebody could cheat the system. I'm going to make my own deck. And so his deck was called the Telepatha deck. And I just put it down somewhere. One moment. Let me clear this off here. Okay. I don't know where I put the deck. I might have to grab it at the end, but you will see here when I share my screen again, this is very similar to the ESP deck. You can see instead of the circle, we have this dot. Instead of the plus sign, we have equals. Instead of the wavy lines, we've got a triangle. Instead of a square, we've got a cross. And instead of the star, we have the moon. And so you can see how he took these ESP shapes, he changed them, and then he made them his own. And so this deck was used in the UK to kind of try to get the same results as J.B. Rhine. And unfortunately, they weren't able to get the same type of results. So in the book that he wrote about his deck, he said, hey, J.B. Rhine, if you have any advice on how to get those same results, please let us know so that we can duplicate these. And so it's just like a really fascinating story, especially with ESP. And so since we're really into this type of thing with reading, divination, psychics, and such, we thought this would be a great deck to reproduce. And the majority of, I think, the world hasn't even heard of this deck. And so we're really wanting this to be a way to introduce this deck to a broader audience, because I think Harry Price did a great job with these. And this will come with a plain deck, and it will also come with a colored deck. So once again, this should hopefully be out in 4 to 5 weeks. We'll share more about this very soon. Now, this next deck that we're going to introduce is something we've been working on for a very, very long time, and we're really, really excited about this. This is probably going to be out, we're hoping October, maybe the end of October, but this is a new deck by Alejandro R. Rozan. And this deck we are calling the Rader Marseille Tarot deck. And the reason why is because we have the Rader style images mixed or combined and united with the Marseille images. And so what we're really trying to do with this deck, Alejandro wanted to create this as a bridge between the Rader deck and the Marseille deck. So if you're very familiar, for example, with the Rader tradition, and you go, oh, I'm really familiar with the Rader tradition, I'm kind of afraid to read with the pip cards, or I'm kind of afraid to read with a new system. Well, this is a great way for those people to see these and get familiar with, for example, here we have the 10 of cups. You can go, oh, well, this is what the cups look like. And there's 10 of these cups that are used within this design. And that's the same thing with the 2 of swords, where we've got these swords interlacing with each other. And the same goes for if you're used to the Marseille system and you're interested in learning about the Rader system, well, you can take your knowledge with you of the Two of Swords or the Ten of Cups, and you can see these scenic images that are with the Rader deck. And so this really is a bridge between these two systems so that you can familiarize yourself with these two different tarot traditions. And I think, if you're not really fond of the Rader system or you're not really fond of the Marseille system, I think as a reader, I think it's important to at least be familiar with both types of systems, because you might have people coming to you that have only gotten readings with the Rader deck, for example, or have only gotten readings with the Marseille deck, for example. And so just having this type of knowledge in your wheelhouse, I think, can only benefit you as a reader. And so this is really why we've created this deck, is to have them interlaced with each other so that you can familiarize yourself with both systems. So we're really excited about this coming out. Alejandro's worked really, really hard to make these look as if they were printed on wood blocks. And so you can see some of the colors are like the yellow here at the bottom of the robe, for example. This is supposed to look like it's been hand stenciled. And so when you hand stencil things, sometimes the colors don't exactly go into the other colors, or sometimes there's a bleed over. And so that's really what he's tried to do with this deck. And also this has the same type of texture to it of the Tarot dis Ambiguitas, which is, once again, this old style that's really supposed to look traditional. So this deck will hopefully be out in, like I said, October, maybe the end of October. That's what we're shooting for. The cards are all done. It's just the details that take the most amount of time. So let's go to the next deck that we hope will be released sometime in the November timeframe. And that is a new deck with Z-Manzilla. And this is something that we've never done before. This isn't Marseille Tarot. This isn't Rader Tarot. This is a completely different divination system that hopefully some of you will enjoy. And that is the I Ching. This is something that I think is a new type of system to create your I Ching readings with these cards. Now, Zilla, I can put you on the spot if you want to talk about these, or I can talk about these. How would you want to do this? I think you're muted here. I can ask you to unmute.
Yeah, you muted me. That wasn't on me. Anyway.
Did you want to talk about these and how the cards are used, or how you create a
Absolutely.
hexagram with
So
these?
I want to say it was about 3,000 years ago was the first appearance of writings about the topic of the I Ching. And so the purpose of the I Ching was that it's a study of changes. It's one of the first divination systems that we actually have confirmation about. This isn't like when Italia started saying that the tarot came from Egypt and stuff. No, we actually have a paper trail, literally and figuratively, of where the I Ching came from over 3,000 years ago. And the way it worked was it was about studying natural phenomena and the changes that occur naturally, which is the sort of the core of Taoist faith. Now, where am I going with all this? Well, let's try to draw a little closer comparison to the way that your tarots and all of your other card divination systems work. Okay, so the card is meant to represent sort of a concept that we're all familiar with, right? Well, the I Ching does a sort of similar thing. Instead of coming up with the 78 images of, say, the Rider-Waite or anything like that, there are a core 64 concepts that are made with the I Ching, which themselves have have 6 sub meanings that you can derive from that. There are hundreds of ways you can interpret the I Ching, and you do all that with just 2 simple lines, broken and unbroken. Holy cow, that sounds like a lot, Zilla. What are you asking us to memorize? I ain't asking you to memorize jack, because what we've done here is we've taken that system that is just beautifully complex in its simplicity, and we've filtered it through the way people read cards in the modern age. So we've come up with a new technique that we call the pie method. And pie is actually a Chinese word that means cards. It also means brand, interestingly enough, which is why I call it the pie panda, because my branding is all pandas. So there's deep meanings in that simple little one syllable, right? And that's sort of what we're trying to get with the way that this system is going to work. So what you do, you notice on the screen that we've got that's actually 4 cards. Okay. Now, I Ching is read with what's called hexagrams, which is a combination of 2 trigrams. There are 8 sets of 3 lines, broken and unbroken, that represent different natural phenomena in Chinese philosophy. And when you stack one on top of the other, you get one of 64 unique hexagrams. Hex, 6 gram marks. So 6 marks, hexagram. So what you do with these cards here, it's a deck, it's got 32 cards in it. All right, you ask your question, anything other than a yes or no question, because if all you need is yes or no, go get a coin, go play with a daisy or something. But like you're asking like a complex question about what it is you're trying to do in life. And the approach with this is slightly different from, actually, it's going to be slightly different from what people are expecting. You as card readers, right, will not see the difference here, because you know that the best advice that that any sort of a divination artist can give is not when you're going to get your fortune, but what you can do to get your fortune, right? What you can do to work towards it. And the I Ching is wired towards that line of thinking. It doesn't tell you you will receive the gift of money, right? No, it says this is what you can change in your life to make yourself more receptive to a gift of money. Okay, so it answers that question by showing you changes. So what we've done is to make this a much friendlier, more portable system. Is that we've taken like the I Ching. It's this book. Let me show you the book that you're expected to use in normal I Ching. Okay. It's this thick. You hear that? That you want to carry that around all day? No. So what we've done is we've actually created a much more compact book that actually like does interpretations in a way that cartomancers are going to be more familiar with, things like keywords and getting to the point, right? So that's the reading system we got going here. So you lay out your spread. This is what you get right here. It's going to form 2 hexagrams. All right, you're going to get your before hexagram and your after hexagram. You're going to look up those 2 hexagrams in the book, and then there's a little parable that we tell in the book that shows you how to chart the path from one to the other, what it is you're looking for, right? It's a much simpler system. It's designed with cartomancers in mind. All right, so if you're the kind of person you've been reading cards your whole life, but you've been wondering, hey, what's this I Ching thing all about, right? Look, I'm gonna level with you here. We're not going to be able to pack all of this in a tiny little card box, right? But what we have given you with this new deck, this I Ching Paya Panda deck, all right, is we have given you the basic building blocks to start your journey towards I Ching literacy. And think of it as a Rosetta Stone. Okay, but more importantly, think of it as an incredibly versatile divination system that's going to give you simple, actionable advice that you already know how to read. Okay, and so you're gonna have this great little kit you can take with you all over the place to read I Ching for people. Very simple to use, and then you can turn around and take the exact same set of cards and use it in your journey to fully understand I Ching journey and the hundreds and hundreds of definitions you can get out of these things. Like imagine for a moment if the Tarot de Marseille, you could figure out a way to, like, that's probably what they were trying to do with reversals, was to take 78 cards and turn that into like 154 meanings or whatever. I Ching, they figured out how to make, like, I want to say it was like over 300 different meanings out of these things. I mean, that's where you can go with this. You can end up with one of the most versatile, ancient, venerated systems on the planet, right up there in your noodle and in your toolbox. And it all starts with a simple 32 card deck. So that's what we're aiming to do with this system here, is to get you started on a whole new thing that is just incredibly powerful, but also incredibly effective, because it doesn't promote wishful thinking. It promotes actionable thinking. And if you're any sort of divination artist, that's the best advice to get, isn't it? So there it is.
And something else just I want to point out about this deck, and that is, pardon me, we didn't want to just create a deck of 64 hexagrams, because you'll see
Yeah.
that there are I Ching decks out there that are 64 cards. You draw a card, and then that one card gives you your hexagram. Instead, we wanted to this be a more organic approach where you can be a part of the process of building the hexagram. And so with this method, instead of flipping a coin 6 times to then get your hexagram, with this you've got the 2 cards. So you give the cards a shuffle, you draw 1 card, and then that gives you half of your hexagram. You can do another shuffle, or you can draw another card, however you want to do it. You lay that down, and then that gives you this hexagram that you've just built. So now you're part of that process of creating the hexagram. And then what I think is the most fun, you kind of play a matching game, and you say, okay, the top 3 are broken lines, and the bottom 3 are solid lines, unbroken lines. Okay, well, where do I find those on the card? And all you do is you look at the bottom and you go, okay, well, that looks like, oh, it's number 34, because I've got oh no, that's not 34. See, this is why it's fun. It's number 11. So you go, okay, well, we've got the 3 broken lines and 3 solid lines. That's number 11. You go to your book that comes with the deck. You open it up to 11, and then you have part of your reading of change. And so once again, this is just like really fun in that you don't just draw 1 card and that's it. You're drawing multiple cards, and you're having fun building these and then matching what you've got. And so this has just been fun to play around with, just to see what this is like. And then also you can see here that he's also named these trigrams. So you can see we've got heaven going this way, and at the top we've got earth. Now, of course, sometimes these hexagrams are different. So if you look at the bottom right card, you can see if it's a solid line, broken, that's going to be the mountain trigram. But because these cards are reversible, if this card were flipped the other direction, that would be broken line, solid line. Then we have the trigram for thunder. And so what's really great about this is how we can get this down to such a minimal deck and such a, easy to carry around, is because we're taking those 64 hexagrams, and really there's only 8 of them. And to get a complete set, we've got 16. And so it's a really, I guess, user-friendly or travel-friendly way to have the full deck of 64 with you with a little book. You throw that into your purse, and you're good to go and do these readings. Did you want to say anything else? Did I cover all of that correctly, Z-Man?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah, you got it. So I did want to sort of circle back to the 8 trigrams thing there. So they're all representative features of nature, mountain, thunder, earth, heaven, lake, water, fire. They are like that, and the way that they interact is where the sort of core meaning comes from. And so I will admit that I didn't go into the deepest detail in the book with the trigrams in particular. I'm saving that for the follow-up, but I just wanted to throw in there as well. If you are into doing open reading techniques, the trigrams themselves also play a part. And as your understanding of how I Ching works grows, you can start incorporating those as well and take an already versatile system and make it even more versatile. So I'm a huge fan of this system. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to research it and present it as a product for Artisan Tarot.
Yeah, and we're super excited too to just have a new system out here to hopefully introduce to a large amount of maybe Tarot de Marseille people, or just readers in general. So thank you, Zilla, for dropping by and telling us more about your deck that's coming out. Now let's talk about the last product that we have coming out. And actually, I saved this for last because this is now available on our website for purchase. Now, I'm sure you all know that we're big fans of Enrique Enriquez. We have had him here on Artisan Tarot doing, I think we've done 3 lectures with him now. The last one was a tarot Q&A where people dropped in and asked him questions about the tarot, and he answered them. Well, this is a new book called Augur, and this is an essay about the language of the birds. And I'm just going to quickly read you a little bit about what this book is about. Enrique says that Augur focuses on the silence of birds, that is, their flight. the other rhythm through which the birds write their designs in the air. So this booklet is about observing the bird's flight and using that as a form of divination and seeing the world around us. And so this booklet, we just got these. We've been working with him for a while on this. We've just got these in stock yesterday. And so if you're interested in this, learning about augur, the language of the birds, then this booklet is now available. I think it's 32 pages. It's the same size. I don't have it here with me, but it's the same size as Beautiful Bullshit. So they pair together really nicely and make a nice set. And these just, if you've got a pocket here or a purse, you can throw this in. And it really is a book of poetry. And so you can read this, study it. Yeah, it's that Zilla showing us right here. It's really a beautiful book. And so if you're a fan of Enrique Enriquez, I would highly recommend picking up Augur. It's once again available right now. We're not releasing this yet. It's only, it's on our website, but we haven't announced it. We're going to announce it probably later this week. So if you're watching this right now, you are the first to know about this, kind of just for you, since you decided to pop in. You can have the first look at this booklet that's now available. So I know we kind of covered a lot here, but this is what we've been working on, which is why we've kind of been quiet the past few months, is because we've been really working on getting a lot of different types of divination systems, divination methods available to all of you. So with all of this in mind, I would just love to open it up. We don't have, I think we have just enough people where if you can just raise your hand, I can unmute you and we can just, feel free to ask any questions, and I'm happy to answer them to the best of my ability or look them up. Okay, I see a hand already here. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
I don't
Actually, can I ask you something about the I Ching stuff?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So so the casting is just you take two, so you have a set of 16 cards, and you just take 2 cards from each of the 8. So you have 2 sets of 8, and you're taking 2 cards from each of the 8s. Is that right?
Not exactly. So what we've done is there are 8 trigrams,
Right.
and then the deck has 32 cards, so it's 4 each of the trigrams, and it's all one deck. So yeah, you basically have a fair and equal amount, a fair and equal way of getting any given 2 trigrams. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And in fact, we also go into when I don't know if you're an I Ching reader yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how the traditional method relies on changing lines, right?
Yes.
So we've taken that into account as well. In the system, what you do is you do a very similar draw, and then what you do to get your changing lines is the first hexagram you produce is the hexagram, and then the second one gives you your changing lines. So you go through and you start from the bottom, and whichever lines change, there's your advice. So
okay.
Yeah, so it was very important to me to make sure that this system also worked with the traditional method. And in fact, it's my opinion that this one goes a lot faster and is a lot easier to clean up than goofing with coins or yarrow sticks. So, it's just bam, 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 you're done. So,
yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for the question.
So since you have joined us here, Zilla, let's talk about what we're going to be doing for these coming up into the future. So what we are going to do is, this time it was the first one. I just wanted to, we've kind of been a little quiet about what probably some of you are like, what have they been doing? So since we were a little bit quiet this time, we just wanted to share with you what we have been working on. But moving into the future, we really want to make these more community driven, really talking about, maybe we've got a specific topic that we discuss each month, and really opening it up to what you all would like to learn about, what you would all like to discuss. For example, when the I Ching deck comes out, maybe that month we can talk about I Ching, and maybe Zilla can do, readings with the deck, and we can just kind of go back and forth with that. When the Tarot Ambiguity came out, I know we did a lecture with Alejandro, but for this new Rader deck that came out, maybe for that month we can do readings with that deck. And So every month we might be able to do a deck theme, or we can do a discussion around specific types of readings. And we have, I don't know if you're aware, I'm going to send a link here because it's a little bit difficult to find on our website, but we have a forum. And I think on the top of that forum, it says like, what do you want these community sessions to be about? Something like that is the first link on the forum. And I'm just going to put that into the chat. It's just forum.artisantarot.com. And then if you are on our website and you aren't sure how to find it, just go to our website, scroll down to the very bottom of the page, and then you're going to see a link that says forum. If you click on that, it goes directly to the forum as well. So this would be a great place if you've got ideas of topics that you'd like to discuss, go there and just leave some comments. Some people have already commented, and just tell us what you would like to get out of this. And then on top of that, we have invited Zilla to host these meetings for us every third Saturday. So Zilla is going to be with us and running these, making sure that he answers all of your questions and he shares these systems with us. And we're really excited to work with Zilla because I don't know if you've been able to go over to his TikTok channel or not, but his readings are fantastic. And he's very moral, very ethical in his approach, and he gives good advice, which is what we're really about here, right? Is helping people, empowering people, and giving them good advice so they can move on from whatever situation or whatever they want to know, right? And so I highly suggest just watching some of Zilla's TikTok videos and just learning about his approach to reading, because they're fun, they're whimsical, but they really have a good message. And I think as a reader, that's really important. So we've invited him to host these for us so that you can really get the behind the scenes look of how he's creating and developing his readings for his social media, but also in life. Like how do you get that meaning out of this card? Or how did you see this card this way, right? And so hopefully he can bring all of his experience to these sessions. So with that in mind too, if you've got questions for Z-Manzilla, if you've got anything that you would like to chat about, maybe it's social media, right? Maybe we can do a month where he takes you behind the scenes with his social media account and he shares some of that information, right? So we're really flexible, and we would really like to hear from you about what you would like to learn and what you would like to discuss, because I think these community sessions are great, if you just chit chat, how are you? But what I'd really like to have these as a learning experience for everybody with topics that you want to discuss. So please post in our forum, like participate with us, so we're not just, hey Zilla, what do you want to talk about this week? Okay, that sounds good, we'll do that.
Yeah,
want to know.
That's just it. This is sort of the kryptonite here, because he did ask me, what was it you'd like to talk about next month? And of course I said pandas, and he said, well, we don't sell pandas. Like you said, that's what I wanted to talk about. Not what, And so you're all, but here's the thing, is as William mentioned, I'm a very staunch moralist, and that's where he got me, because he knows that if he decided it was going to be community vote, I would just beg you all to cram the word pandas into the voting box 100 times. You're free to do that, but I am on a bound not to directly ask you to do that. That's
that's right. So. Yeah, I see your pin in the back, and you're wearing a shirt, right?
Oh yeah. There's Ding Dong. So yeah, there's actually Miss Doma, Ding Dong is a mupp panda. Is a mupp panda. It's not quite a panda, not quite a muppet, but that's the real Ding Dong right there. And then Dwayne is over there. They all got names. So yeah, but yeah, anyway, in regards to things to talk about, like obviously you want to talk about I Ching, we can talk about I Ching. I actually had a discussion prepared about prototyping, because that is another thing that I would absolutely love to talk about. If you're the kind of person that's wondering, oh, how do I get my first deck put together? Or I have this weird idea, like that Sesamero or whatever you do there. I have heard it pronounced so many different ways. So yeah, so somebody says, "Oh, yeah, I like that Swiss Army thing you do. That's how do I do something like that?" Yeah, I could show you how to do a Swiss Army if that's what you want to do. But yeah, like how to do little DIY things with your decks and stuff like that. You know, differences between Marseille and Rider Waite, or whatever you're into. By all means, let me know what you want to talk about. This ain't about me; it's about you. I just host it. So yeah.
Okay, that wraps up our first community session here at Artisan Tarot. I want to thank everyone for joining us and being a part of our discussion. We look forward to seeing you at our next community session that takes place on the third Saturday of every month. I've been William Rader. I look forward to seeing you very soon.